almost done with the one thing. I'll be done with that today.
It's a great book. What's a lesson you've taken away from it so far?
To be more focused and not what did he say, instead of going from E to P, instead of being entrepreneurial, being purposeful.
Exactly. Everything matters, but not everything matters the same. So it's an important lesson. So everything matters, but not everything matters at the same weight.
Well, and I notice a lot of the things he talks about is I watched my husband in his business, and it reminded me of Kyle, because Kyle always has everything lined up the day before. So when he gets up in the morning, he just goes and starts doing, because he already knows what he has to do. So I made a list of the people that I want to call today.
That's awesome. One of the best things to do is to have a plan. So every Sunday we talk about planning for your week, family planning sessions, to sit down for a little bit of time, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, to find out what your plan is going to be for the week. What does your family got going on? What are you working on? What are the big rocks that you're going to come up to on the week? And it's not just business stuff, but it's also personal things, self-care things, tasks that you want to accomplish. When you can set a goal for yourself, you can create some ease in your life by writing it down. Every Sunday is a planning session. We sit and talk to our significant others or our families and find out what they've got going on and put it on the calendar, put it on the schedule, and then work around it. Like I'm still not comfortable with taking time off and going and doing, fun things, because I came from a corporate world where I worked 70 hours a week and I worked 6 days a week, and taking time off was so faux pas, because it's like you didn't care about the company, or you didn't care about your job because you were taking time off. You're a terrible person. Well, that's absolutely asinine. And even years later, I'm still uncomfortable taking time off, but I do it. And the way I do it is I set a plan. I know when I'm leaving, when I have to be somewhere, and I put it on my schedule and I work around it so that my work doesn't interfere. And if something pops up that I have to get, this or that moved, I communicate with the important people around it and say, hey, I've got this non-negotiable event, also known as family time or some kind of family trip, and then work your life around it. You can do that a week, a month, a year out, but it's important to schedule yourself so that you know what's happening, and you, like you said, Kyle, you can just roll right into it. You don't have to wake up in the morning and scramble and go, oh, what am I going on today? Every day, Jess asks me, hey, what do you got going on tomorrow? How's your schedule looking tomorrow? That way she knows when I'm available, and she knows when I'm, can step in and help out. It's funny how many crises happen outside of work hours when you have a very scheduled environment. So the one thing is definitely a great book to help you identify what important items, because like I said, everything matters, but not everything matters at the same level. Hi, Ms. Nina. Good to see your face.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Ms. Mara. Good morning, Mr. Stormy. Look at that. We got some people back from trips today. I love it. You guys were having a good old time. All right, let's hear some more wins. We're starting today off with some gratitude, but we're going to do a little exercise here in a second too. All right, give me some more wins.
Yeah, I was able to spend time with my family. It's a win. It's not real estate, but
That's a win, man. I love it. One more.
Staged my listing this weekend to make it look so much better. So
There we go. Anyone do open houses this weekend? No, pretty light. I was picking up a range for one of our rentals, and I was driving by a lady who was picking up her open house signs, and I kind of pulled over and stopped her and talked to her and just asked her how her traffic was, and she said super bad. And I was like, well, you're brave for doing an open house right after Thanksgiving, but we expected that kind of traffic pattern. But traditionally, right now, this week is one of the busiest weeks before the next holiday rush. And that's, let's get on the phone and start talking to some people. But today, if you guys don't mind, I don't want to do scripting so much around our business as I do around our mindset. Is that okay with you? Okay. So if you all have a piece of paper in front of it, if you don't, that's okay. We'll go back to this recording if you need to. I want you to finish this month off thinking about some gratitude and practice some self-gratitude, because one of the best mental environments you can be in is having the attitude of gratitude. It helps you connect with people. It helps you find creative solutions, and it helps you from not being so starch, very rigid in your thinking. So first, I want to ask you, when was a time, and you can think of a time or an example of a time in your life when you conquered a fear? I think about that. When was sometime you did something that was scary to you, uncomfortable to you? I mean, maybe real estate was one of those things, maybe taking a listing call, maybe going out of your way. When you think about a time that you conquered a fear, it reminds you that you were capable of challenging the inside emotion, right? You were fearful of doing something, you did it anyways. Remembering those moments will allow you to push past fear lock. It'll push you back into action instead of sitting on your heels and waiting for, decisions to take over. So if you want to share, you can, but this is mainly for you, but I'm going to give you guys some questions to go off of. Does anyone care sharing?
I quit drinking 25 years ago, and it was pretty scary. So, but I got 25 years in, but when you said that, it brought up the memories of how scary it was. And here I am 25 years later. So it's a good example.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I come from a family that has a lot of alcohol abuse, and we understand that is a very, very hard dragon to slay. So I think the only one harder than that's heroin. So anyone else care to share? Pedro.
I left the company I had worked for 26 years to go to a different state and a different company.
I mean, uprooting your life, that's huge. That shows that you're willing to do things that make sense to you. Very grandiose things. That's awesome. Right. Next question. Who are you today that your past self would be proud of? I mean, Heather kind of gave us hers a little bit, but that's a great thing, is who are you today that your past self would be proud of? There's a great book. It is called The Gap and the Gain. Forgive me, I don't ever remember the authors. Dan Sullivan. The Gap and the Gain. And the premise of the book is to focus on advancements and gains in your life. How many times have we been defeated in our own thinking because we're not where we think we should be? I don't have as many appointments. I don't have as many listings. I haven't made as much money. I'm not a millionaire yet. I haven't lost that 20 pounds. We focus so much on the negative parts in our lives that we forget to ask ourselves, what have we accomplished? Where are we now compared to where we used to be? Let's look at the progress. There are so many agents I've talked to that have gone from making $25,000, $30,000 a year to making well over $100,000 a year that aren't happy because they're not successful. But I have to pull them back and say, where did you come from? Right? Who are you today that a past you would be proud of? So that might be monetarily, it might be relationship, it might be spiritual. There's 7 different elements of a balanced life that we look at, and these things all help factor into who you are. Like, I'll share one of my own. Not that I had a problem with drinking, but I stopped. I just one day stopped drinking because it was in around environments of people that were toxic for my life. Going to bars, going to clubs, hanging out with those type of people, going to bonfires. These were all social events anchored around drinking. And I found out the people that I was surrounded by were killing me slowly. So for me, I made a tough decision of getting rid of friends. And looking back 4 or 5 years later, I'm proud of it because, yeah, those people are still in my life, but they're at a very, very distant portion. And I have grown exponentially because of it. Now, is it because I got rid of dead weight that I became, successful? Partly, but it's also me changing who I am to be the better version of me, because one day, and my biggest fear is meeting a version of me I could have been. So, anyone else want to share?
And I was just gonna mention the compassion course that I facilitate talks about progress, not perfection, to always remind ourselves of that. And that's part of self-compassion. And also they talk about, and I think you've talked about it, like changing the rudder on a boat, like a teeny weeny bit is gonna completely change where you end up. So it's kind of a nice daily reminder.
Yeah, you don't move an air freighter or an aircraft carrier in a mile. It takes half an ocean, kind of thing. But it all takes is just a little adjustment in the rudder. So Joyce Myers read her book, and the line from that is enjoy the journey. Right? We're always so focused on where we want to go that we forget to enjoy the journey. A lot of growth happens along the way, and we don't recognize it because we don't look at it. So, anyone else care to share? Okay, let's go to the next.
I have a question, Dan.
Yeah, what do you got, Stormy?
Well, I struggle with that part. So how, like, how do you notice the difference? You know, because some people hold themselves to a little bit higher standard, or like I try a little bit harder. So I mean, I don't understand how, like how do I remind myself, you know? Because if I stop and I think, then I know that I am different today than I was before. But dude, I can't remind myself of that. I'm more like, damn, man, you didn't fucking do those 42 deals you told yourself you were gonna do. You know, like, so fuck, bro. I really struggle with that part.
Do you mind if I start with the obvious?
Yeah.
How much money have you made this year versus before you got into real estate?
Well, it's more.
Okay. How much more?
Shit, probably. Well, I mean, I'm at like 65 right now. Probably before the end of the year, I'll probably be at like 70 or 75. So, and then when I first started, it was more like 30.
So there you go. Right. There is some path where you can celebrate and say, hey, I've come twice as far. Right. We all are a little too critical of ourselves, and I'll give everyone that grace, as I know you're critical of you because you are your own worst critic. Nobody knows who you're supposed to be better than you. So in that, you're going to be super hard on yourself, and we as humans tend not to lean towards positive things. We don't. We're tribesmen. If someone died from eating that berry, don't eat that berry. We remember that berry. We don't remember the 100 other berries that were good for us. We just know the one that's bad. And in that, we think of the bad energy, the bad environments, that we're not quite there. We haven't hit our goals yet. Well, you said you want to do 42, but you haven't done it yet. You're failing. These are all gaps in our lives and our thinkings. But we look at the opposite side of that. We go, okay, well, you know what? Yes. Yesterday, I put on a pair of snowboard pants that I haven't worn in 7 years. Guess what? They don't fit. You know what? 7 years ago, I was 70 pounds lighter. And it's okay. Because you know what? Now I can either be real upset about it and be like, oh man, I've gained 70 pounds in 7 years. Oh my God, my life is terrible. Or I can look at there's some factors that have changed in my life. I'm stronger now than I was 7 years ago. That 70 pounds is not a negative 70 pounds. It's just different. It's an easy solution. Go buy bigger pants. Okay. I get stuck on the gap so much. Oh my God, they don't fit. These used to be big on me, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot more factors involved. And it's not just the environment of not producing. It's also, okay, what value are we going to put on this? For you yourself, Storm, you're having a hard time looking at where you're doing better. I'm going to look at other things like, were you in a happy, committed relationship a year ago?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Good point.
Were you actively seeking out opportunities to develop not only your friend circle, but your professional spheres?
Yeah, absolutely.
These are all things that we look back and go, okay, well, I haven't really done a whole lot, but that's why the question is asked it like, who are you today that a past self would be proud of? Right? I can say that a past Dan Caldwell would be proud of me owning a home, owning a lifted truck, owning guns, all these things that I wanted as a kid. And it might be material, it may not be. I can tell you that a past me would be very proud that I have the influence in the community that I do. Because I used to be a shitbag. Right? I spend more of my energy doing bad things than I did doing positive things. It may not be a you from yesterday. It might be a you from 10 years ago that you have to find that positive gain. But when we find those, we can really practice that self-gratitude. Man, you've done a great job, Stormy. I'm proud of you because I've seen you grow and develop. I'm in a very fun position where I get to see all of you grow and develop. Some faster than others, some stall out, some get back on the wagon, but ultimately there's always growth. All right, next one. What do you have today that you've always wanted? Right? Now, this can be a physical thing, material goods, right? I have a house, okay? I have a dog. Always wanted a Labrador. But it could also be non-material, non-corporeal things. Like I have a healthy relationship. I have a family. I have investment accounts, right? But in those, it gives me the feeling that I'm doing something in life, right? I have a friend circle that I can lean on for just about anything. I'm just giving some examples here, like whatever works. So what do you have today that you've always wanted? Someone share.
I have a stable relationship with my wife,
That's awesome.
49 years in December.
You've been married longer than most of us have been alive.
And this is the second marriage for both of us.
Oh, wow.
There you go. We got the bad one out of the way and started over.
Yeah.
Proud of you, man. 49 years. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Who else? What do you have today that you've always wanted?
A better mindset.
That's big. That's big. How often do we find ourselves in a position where it's hard to get out of the funk? Right? Anyone had a bad day that turned into a bad week, that turned into a bad month, that turned into a bad year? Right? We've all had those rough times. And I'm hoping we're able to catch those bad weeks, or the dog digging in the pillow behind you, Heather.
That wouldn't be unusual.
Oh, but we got to remember that. Okay, what do we have now that we've always wanted? And we can look at those things and our goals change. That's why vision boards are very powerful. If you don't have a vision board, I challenge you to make one. I've made multiple vision boards, and I love being able to literally cross off things on the vision board. Or I'll change it because I've already achieved one of the things that's on the vision board. Because that allows you to have a physical representation of growth. So, next question. What is your favorite quality about yourself? What is your favorite quality about yourself? That's a very powerful question. What is your favorite quality about yourself? What's yours, Mara?
Caring for others, servant heart.
I would have to say you absolutely have a servant heart. I love that about you. When I think of compassion, I literally think of you.
Oh, thank you.
Who else wants to share? What's your favorite quality about yourself? Nina.
I don't hold grudges against people.
I could learn to be better at that. I really could, man. I struggle with that. I hold on to that fire for a long time. Well, I think that's awesome. That's a superpower in itself. That's great. And our last question today, what are you most grateful for about yourself? What are you most grateful for about yourself? I can see some thinking on this one. Like for me, I'm most grateful for my ability to create. Right? I've been able to create for myself, create for others. I've created great leaders. I've created great salespeople. I've created some pretty amazing things in my life, and I haven't even been here that long. I often find myself thinking about how amazing stuff has been and then realize that that was all last year. Right? I look back and go, wow, I bought a vehicle cash. I have title in hand. I bought a new house. I started a new business. I bought multiple investment properties and I bought into an investment firm and all these things. And I'm like, holy shit. Well, that happened all last year. But it's not the money there. It's the opportunity there. And it was my ability to create these opportunities, my ability to create conversations around people. So I'm very grateful for my ability to create. How about you? Someone share.
I am very grateful that I belong to this group because honestly, when I retire, I thought it's the end of my aspirations for anything. Like I'm just waiting till I'm down. But right now, I'm so proud of myself because I am continually growing with you guys, and sometimes I forget that I'm retired, I'm old, why should I continue to learn? Where would I use that? But I'm just surprised that I am actively involved with growing up with you young people.
Well, we're proud to grow with you. I mean, you don't have to retire. You can be like Pedro and have 3 of them. Just go from one career to the next. Just keep going. At this time, he's just collecting retirement checks. He doesn't even cash them. He just puts them on a shelf.
For me, it makes me forget about my age, where I'm at in life. It's like I'm still competing with the young people.
That's awesome.
Even if even if I'm way behind them, but it's like I'm still aspire to be one of you guys.
Well, you are one of us.
Yeah, we have a saying that says, the devil doesn't know a lot because he's a devil, because he knows a lot because he's been around a long time. So the more that years go by, the more you learn, the more you know about life and a whole bunch of other things. So you're probably way behind my age, so don't feel bad about where you're at. I just turned 75 this year, so I'm pretty sure you got a way to go there. And like Dan says, I retired in 2015, and
Wow.
I've never been bored. I've never been bored.
There are 54 years of spread on this call between the oldest and youngest. Actually, I don't know how old Tommy is. I'm guessing he's older than Jacob. But if we look at that, that's 54 years of experience that we get to tack on to everybody's life. And if I were to add up the ages of everyone on this call, we would have eons. But the magic is that we are giving back in an ability to grow and learn and develop well beyond the traditional facilitated periods, right? Once you leave high school, you no longer learn. Once you leave college, you no longer learn. I consider myself having a doctorate in life, and I'm only 35 because I've gone through some shit. Oh, I'm 36. My birthday was last week. I forgot. So good. I've gone through some shit. But the beautiful thing is I've also been able to learn from Pedro and learn from you, Nina, and absolutely learn from Mara. She's been helping me become a softer edge for 4 years now. But it's that environment that you cue into that allows you the access to that growth and development. And that's what I love about Keller Williams. And I'll share that this list of questions came from an email of the Business Maps coaching community from Abe Sharif. but it was so impactful that I saved it. I was like, you know what, I want to push it out there. And I think we should talk about this because right after Thanksgiving, we get this mindset of thankful. We're around family, we're around friends, we're around good food. And sometimes those go south real fast. And I've been around people that have had stories of Thanksgiving going bad, real bad, because you typically don't get those people together except for once a year. And there's grievances that need to be aired out, but they create one energy or the other, either extremely positive or the opposite. But then after that weekend, it kind of seems to go back to nil. We're just like, oh man, the holiday's over. I got to get back to work, right? Anyone else feel that this morning? I just got to get back to work. But I look at it as the opportunity to grow and develop is let's continue that attitude of gratitude. Let's move into this week with purpose and not gratitude towards someone else, not gratitude towards myself. And I appreciate that. But it's gratitude for you, gratitude for the mirror, the reflection, the person that's driving your sneakers. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to lay down with your decisions. You're the one that gets to carry around either that positive attitude or that negative attitude. And I hope that today you've taken these 5 questions seriously and you've really looked at some things that you can be grateful for and you can harness that attitude of gratitude. Because I don't know who it was, Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins, or one of those great speakers who says it's not your aptitude, but your attitude that determines your altitude, right? You may not know what you're doing, but if you have the best attitude in the world, you'll figure it out or someone will come help you. You can be an expert in your field and know everything about what you're doing, but if you're a terrible attitude, no one wants to deal with you. So remember that. The attitude of gratitude will literally unlock doors for you. So any questions before we embark on the rest of our day? Got about 15 seconds. Look at that timing. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and I'm glad to see you're back on the calls. Glad to see you're back in the state. Let's do this again this week, shall we? We'll start with a big high five.